April 16th, 1 Kings 10 and 11. And the sovereignness of Sheba heard of the report of Solomon concerning the name of Yah, and came to try him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great company, with camels that bore spices, very much gold and precious stones. And she came to Solomon, and she spoke with him about all that was in her heart. And Solomon answered all her questions. There was no matter hidden for the sovereign that he did not make known to her. And the sovereigness of Sheba saw all of the wisdom of Solomon, and the house that he had built, and the food on his table, and the seating of his servants, and the service of his waiters, and their attire, and his cupbearers, and his ascending offerings, which he offered in the house of Yah. And there was no more spirit in her. And she said to the sovereign, The word I heard in my own land about your words, and your wisdom was true. But I did not believe the words until I came and saw them with my own eyes. And see, I have not been told the half. Your wisdom and prosperity exceed the report which I heard. Blessed are your men, and blessed are these your servants, who stand continually before you, who are hearing your wisdom. Blessed be Yah your Elohim, who delighted in you, to put you on the throne of Israel. Because Yah has loved Israel forever, therefore he made you sovereign, to do right ruling and righteousness. And she gave the sovereign 120 talents of gold, and very many spices and precious stones. Never again did so many spices come as the sovereigness of Sheba gave to the sovereign of Solomon. And also the ships of Hiram, which brought gold from Ophir, brought almug wood, a great many, and precious stones from Ophir. And the sovereign made steps of the almug wood for the house of Yah, and for the sovereign's house. Also lyres and harps for singers. No such almug wood has come or been seen to this day. And sovereign Solomon gave to the sovereigness of Sheba all that she desired, whatever she asked, beside what he gave her according to the hand of the sovereign of Solomon. And she turned and went to her land, she and her servants. And the weight of gold that came to Solomon yearly was 666 talents of gold. Beside that from men of travel, and the profit from traders, and from all the sovereigns of Agrabah, Arbia, and from the governors of the land. And sovereign Solomon made 200 large shields of beaten gold. 600 pieces of gold went into each shield, and 300 shields of beaten gold. 3 minas of gold went into each shield. And the sovereign put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. And the sovereign made a great throne of ivory, and overlaid it with refined gold. The throne had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was round at the back, and there were armrests on either side of the place of the seat. And 2 lions stood beside the armrests, and 12 lions were standing there, one on each side of the 6 steps. The like of it was never made in any reign. And all the drinking vessels of sovereign Solomon were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of refined gold, not of silver, for this was reckoned of little value in the days of Solomon. For the sovereign had ships of Tarshish at sea with the fleet of Hiram. Once every 3 years the ships of Tarshish came bringing gold and silver and ivory and apes and baboons. And sovereign Solomon was greater than any of the sovereigns of the earth, in riches and wisdom. And all the earth sought the presence of Solomon to hear his wisdom, which Elohim had put in his heart. And they were each bringing his present, objects of silver and objects of gold, and garments and armor and spices, horses and mules, the matter of a year by year. And Solomon gathered chariots and horsemen, and he had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen, whom he stationed in the chariot cities, and with the sovereign in Jerusalem. And the sovereign made silver as common in Jerusalem as stones, and he made cedars as plenty as the sycamores which are in the low country. And Solomon had horses brought out of Egypt and Kue. The sovereign's merchants brought them in Kue at a price. And the chariot came up and went out from Egypt for 600 pieces of silver, and a horse 150. And so by their hand they brought them out to all the sovereigns of the Hittites and the sovereigns of Aram. First Kings 11. And sovereign Solomon loved many foreign women in addition to the daughter of Pharaoh, Moabite, Ammonite, Edomite, Sidonian, and Hittite women, from the nations of whom Yah had said to the children of Israel, "You do not go into them, and they do not go into you, for they shall certainly turn away your hearts after their mighty ones." Solomon clung to these in love. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. And it came to be, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other mighty ones, and his heart was not perfect with Yah his Elohim, as was the heart of his father David. And Solomon went after Ashtaroth, the mighty one of the Sidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Thus Solomon did evil in the eyes of Yah, and did not follow Yah completely, like his father David. Then Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, on the hill that is east of Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And so he did for all his foreign wives, who burned incense and slaughtered to their mighty ones. Therefore Yah was enraged with Solomon, because his heart had turned away from Yah, Elohim of Israel, who had appeared to him twice, and had commanded him concerning this word, not to go after other mighty ones. But he did not guard what Yah had commanded. And Yah said to Solomon, "Because you have done this, and have not guarded my covenant and my laws, which I have commanded you, I shall certainly tear the reign away from you, and give it to your servant. Only I do not do it in your days, for the sake of your father David. Out of the hand of your son I tear it. Only I shall not tear away all the reign, but give one tribe to your son, for the sake of my servant David, and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen." And Yah raised up an adversary against Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. He was of the seed of the sovereign in Edom. And it came to be, when David was in Edom, and Joab, the commander of the army, had gone up to bury the slain, after he had struck every male in Edom, Joab remained there with all Israel for 6 new moons, until every male of Edom was cut off. That Hadad had fled to go to Egypt, he and certain Edomites of his father's servants with him, while Hadad was still a little child. And they arose from Midian, and came to Paran, and took men with them from Paran, and came to Egypt, to Pharaoh, sovereign of Egypt, who gave him a house, and ordered food for him, and gave him land. And Hadad found much favor in the eyes of Pharaoh, so that he gave him as a wife the sister of his own wife, the sister of sovereigness Tahpenes. And the sister of Tahpenes bore him Genubath, his son, whom Tinephas weaned in Pharaoh's house. And Genubath was in the house of Pharaoh among the sons of Pharaoh. And Hadad heard in Egypt that David slept with his fathers, and that Joab, the commander of the army, was dead. And Hadad said to Pharaoh, "Let me go to my land." And Pharaoh said to him, "But what have you lacked with me, that you are now seeking to go to your own land?" And he answered, "No, but please let me go." And Elohim raised up another adversary against him, Rezon, son of Eliada, who had fled from his master, Hadadezer, sovereign of Zobah, and gathered men to him, and became commander over a raiding band. When David killed those of Zobah, and when they went to Damascus, and dwelt there, and reigned in Damascus, and they went to Damascus, and dwelt there, and reigned in Damascus. And he was an adversary of Israel all the days of Solomon, besides the trouble that Hadad caused. And he was hostile to Israel, and ruled over Aram. And a servant of Solomon, Jeroboam, son of Nebat, an Ephraimite from Seridah, whose mother's name was Seriua, a widow, also lifted up a hand against the sovereign. And this is what caused him to lift up a hand against the sovereign. Solomon had built Milo, repairing the breaks in the city of David his father. And the man Jeroboam was a brave man, and Solomon, seeing the young man was doing his work well, made him the officer over all the compulsory labor of the house of Joseph. And it came to be at that time, when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, that the prophet Ahijah the Shilonite met him on the way. And he was wearing a new garment, and the two were alone in the field. And Ahijah took hold of the new garment that was on him, and tore it into 12 pieces. And Jeroboam and said to Jeroboam, "Take for yourself 10 pieces. For thus says Yah, Elohim of Israel, see, I am tearing the reign out of the hand of Solomon, and shall give 10 tribes to you. But he shall have 1 tribe for the sake of my servant David, and for the sake of Jerusalem, and the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel. Because they have forsaken me, and bow themselves down to Ashtoreth, the mighty ones of the Sidonites, to Chemosh, the mighty one of the Moabites, to Milcom, the mighty one of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways, to do what is right in my eyes, and my laws and my right rulings, as did his father David. But I do not take all the reign out of his hand, because I have made him ruler all the days of his life, for the sake of my servant David, whom I chose because he guarded my commands and my laws. And I shall take the reign out of his son's hand, and give it to you, the 10 tribes. And to his son I give 1 tribe, so that my servant David shall always have a lamp before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen for myself, to put my name there. The math isn't mathing. I don't remember. So I take you, and you shall reign over all that your being desires, and you shall be sovereign over Israel. And it shall be, if you obey all that I command you, and shall walk in my ways, and do what is right in my eyes, to guard my laws and my commands, as my servant David did, then I shall be with you and build for you a steadfast house, as I built for David, and shall give Israel to you. And because of this, I humble the seed of David, but not forever. And Solomon sought to kill Jeroboam, but Jeroboam rose up and fled to Egypt, to Shishak, sovereign of Egypt, and was in Egypt until the death of Solomon. And the rest of the acts of Solomon, all that he did, and his wisdom, are they not written in the book of the acts of Solomon? And the days that Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over Israel was 40 years. So Solomon slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of David his father. And Rehoboam his son reigned in his place.